Okay, so we just talked about physical weathering, which is the breakdown of rock, which changes the appearance or how rocks look. So it doesn't change what they're made up of, but just changes how they look. So it's similar to like your physical appearance. You can change how you look on the outside by changing what you wear, cutting your hair, doing makeup differently. That's your physical appearance or how you look. So physical weathering is changing how rocks look on the outside, and that can be caused by wind, water, temperature, etc. Now we're going to talk about chemical weathering. Chemical weathering is when rocks are chemically changed or broken down. So this is where the composition or what they're made up of changes or gets dissolved or broken down based on the environment the rock is in. So the main causes of chemical weathering, so changing what the rock is made up of, is mainly caused by acid rain, so rain falling from the sky, and warm temperatures. And the effect of this is that chemical weathering can lead to new minerals being formed in rocks, and salts can be made as well. So how do you think chemical weathering has shaped the Grand Canyon? So we talked about physical weathering, whether it be the Colorado River breaking apart the rock or the wind carving out the canyon, or tree roots causing rocks to break apart and crumble. But how do we think chemical weathering, so acid rain or warm temperatures, how do you think that has affected the Grand Canyon? So let's take a look. So there's one process which is called oxidation. This is simply when rust is created. So oxygen, which is in the air, it's what we breathe in, can react with some minerals in rocks that contain iron, causing the minerals to break down and eventually rust. So if you find rocks that have red coloration in them, it's typically the mineral iron that has reacted with oxygen when there's been water present, and this leads to rusting. And a good example of this, many of you probably have bicycles that eventually have gotten rust on them. That is all from that chemical weathering oxidation. So iron in the metal in your bicycle has reacted with oxygen, and the iron in the metal and the oxygen in the acid rain, causing that to change into rust. So in the Grand Canyon, there are lots of rocks with red coloration. So the picture on the right here is called the Red Vermilion Cliffs of Arizona. The red coloration you see in these beautifully rounded cliffs comes from iron oxidizing. So iron in the rocks that was there naturally when they formed. Remember, there's lots of iron in the inner core and outer core of the earth. So when these rocks formed with the iron in them, they eventually, once they got exposed to acid rain on the Earth's surface, and oxygen, which is already present, they then kind of rusted and create that red coloration. So there's lots of red rocks in the Grand Canyon caused by that chemical weathering. So eventually the iron kind of changes and the color ends up becoming different. Another type of chemical weathering is called hydration. So you can think about the prefix hydra, you can think about water, but with hydration, this is when salt water can evaporate in rocks, leaving salt behind. The salt can then cause the rock to break apart. So salt water in the oceans is a really good chemical weathering agent or chemical weathering tool, because it can cause rocks to break apart because of that salt. So that's another example of chemical weathering.